Dear Greece, you had it all until you lost it. You had the greatest of the greats to lead you, to name a few: Pythagoras and Plato, your most revered and possibly your most misled. Why did they give sculpture the permission to attempt the flawlessness, the exactness that they've believed in? Could Polyclitus not see the possible repercussion from his innovations? No, he never thought twice about the impact, the effect of his ways. His canon was literally just that, a merciless weapon obliterating any chance at self-acceptance. After its conception, Greek sculpture was never the same. Movement was the new rage, action in every single pose, but more than that, a new standard was set. Beauty equals proportionality, symmetry, and loveliness. And better yet, this standard was created by stone mannequins. No blood, no flesh, no pumping heart, stone. Yet you expected all human beings to imitate this perfect characteristic of a motionless rock, and for the most part, your people did. The heartless obsession devoured their life. The phrases of proportionality, balance, and tone riddled their brains like incessant, obnoxious mosquitoes buzzing in their ears. Lean was everything. Competition was never not a thing. Gymnasium was the popular thing, buff in the buff. But perfect became almost, and almost became not good enough. Because the choroses and the reliefs, infinitely numerous, had ingrained the ideal of perfection in their brain with its cruel twisting knife. Today, not good enough is never good enough. And never good enough is useless, worthless, despicable, and unworthy. And I blame you for the pitiful, repulsive, sickening state of my world. Do you know what my world's like? I live in a world where comparison is at its peak and confidence is non-existent. We wish we could mold ourselves like the innocent children who push and pinch at Plato, but instead we would be pushing and pinching our own bodies. When did we decide that our bodies were ours alone? They're glorified vessels meant for something greater, something grander, and hold more value than simple skin and skeleton could ever possess, but we can't see that. We're constantly blinded by the darkness, shaded by the cloud that is this impossible, unattainable concept of perfection. We've been trained our whole lives to believe in a facade of mandatory characteristics that run rampant in our minds when we furtively glance in the mirror. But when we glance, we see with bleary, shameful eyes, alienation, expectation, contamination, degradation, and desperation. These Asians will be the downfall of generations. At this rate, our daughters will never know a life without makeup, plastic surgery, and Photoshop. They will be spoon-fed Hollywood, TMZ, and People magazine and grow up aspiring to be Beyonce or Kim K. But what they may never know is that no injection, implant, or filler will ever determine their beauty, for they're daughters of a king. Unfortunately, the media doesn't take royal heritage into account. Our daughters will still be the ones to feel the pressure caving in like boulders on their ribcage, forcing them to hate themselves and the bodies they no longer wish to claim. So Greece, I wish you would have been more cautious. You underestimated your crushing power, your regal influence. Now, I understand Hellenism wasn't your fault. You couldn't control the spread of your ideas, your architecture, and especially your art. You couldn't foresee the future. You could never imagine a day when young girls would have all the latest trash at their fingertips in a ruthless, unforgivable box of metal and glass. You could never imagine a day when companies would delight in taking advantage of schoolgirls and twisting their emotions and self-perceptions in knots like tangled rope. You could never imagine a day when girls who sit in these very desks would turn to self-harm to compensate for the shame, and suicide to take away the blame. You could never imagine a day like today. But today is the future, and now we have to deal with the mess that you so recklessly created.